My name is Claire Anderson. I'm 32, an event designer from Chicago. And I've been to more weddings than I can count, but none of them were mine. Which apparently makes me everyone's favorite single friend to throw at the singles table like some kind of romantic boomerang. You'd think being in the industry would at least earn me a dignified corner. Nope. This wedding, though, was different from the start. It was my cousin Hannah S., the kind of Pinterest-perfect bride who had a bridal party group chat named Team Sparkle and used words like whimsical chic with complete sincerity. I love her, I do. But when I opened the invitation and saw I was RSVP'd to table 11, the infamous singles table, I nearly declined. Worse, I knew who else would be there. Jill, Jared, and a rotating cast of awkward plus Euros and hopeful setups. I could already hear the jokes. I almost said no, but then my mom called. "You're going, right? Everyone's expecting you. Hannah made a special place just for you." That should have been a red flag. So I went. The wedding was beautiful, of course. White peonies, fairy lights, string quartet playing Coldplay, the whole enchanted forest experience. And then came the reception. I walked into the ballroom and spotted it instantly. Table 11. Isolated near the dessert bar like a punishment or a forgotten promise. I sighed, straightened my dress, and walked over. To my surprise, the table wasn't completely tragic. Jill was there, already a glass of wine in, holding court about her latest bad date with a dentist. Across from her, a quiet guy in a charcoal suit scrolled through his phone, detached but oddly calm amid the chaos. I took the last seat. "Claire," Jill squealed. "Finally. Now we can start the sad singles support group." I laughed politely, waved to Jared, and glanced at the guy with the phone. He looked up, met my eyes, and gave a small, crook smile. "Hi," he said. "I'm Ryan. Apparently, table 11 comes with a name tag." His voice was calm, low, slightly amused. "Claire," I replied. "Do we get a group therapist too?"
He chuckled.
"Not unless they're hiding one between the cheesecake and the crudites." We shared a look, that instant connection of two people trying to survive the same ridiculous social moment. The night went on, the usual speeches, toasts, the first dance. I kept expecting Ryan to leave the table, to go talk to someone he knew. But he stayed, and more surprisingly, he kept talking to me. We joked about how weddings are basically mini reality shows. He confessed he only knew the groom because they played in a college band together. I told him about my job and how I sometimes cry during strangers' vows. Somewhere between the salad and the main course, something shifted. Jill and Jared got up to dance. We stayed. And Ryan leaned in slightly, elbows on the table. "You know," he said, "this table might be the best part of the wedding." I smiled. "You're just saying that because the dessert bar is within reach." "That's part of it," he admitted. "But mostly it is because I didn't expect to sit next to someone who actually makes this feel fun." I felt my face flush. Was it the wine? The lighting? Or was this man, this unexpected, unassuming guy from table 11, actually flirting with me? Before I could respond, the lights dimmed. The DJ transitioned into the dance portion of the evening. Jill waved dramatically from the dance floor. I shook my head, but Ryan stood. "Dance with me?" he asked. My instinct said no. I hadn't danced in heels since my last ill-fated date night over a year ago. But something in his expression, equal parts hopeful and relaxed, made me say yes.
He offered his hand. I took it.
On the dance floor, we didn't say much. We didn't need to. He wasn't a great dancer, too many shoulder moves, a little offbeat. But he was earnest, gentle, and when the slow song came on, and he asked if I wanted to keep dancing, I nodded. As he held me, I closed my eyes for a moment. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like the odd one out. I didn't feel like just another single. I felt chosen. The next morning, I woke up still wearing my earrings and a vague smile. My phone buzzed on the nightstand, and for a moment I thought I'd dreamt the whole thing. But no, there it was. A text. "Ryan, hope your heels survived the dance floor." "You definitely saved table 11, I laughed. Alone in my kitchen, in my slippers, holding a mug of reheated coffee, I laughed. And I replied, "Me, the heels didn't make it. But I'll remember that dance for a long time." And so it began. Messages that turned into conversations. Conversations that turned into connection. Over the next few days, we texted constantly, not in the overbearing, predictable way I'd experienced before, but in a natural rhythm that felt like breathing. He was funny without trying, sweet without being performative, and somehow always seemed to say exactly what I didn't know I needed to hear. By Friday, we had plans. Dinner at a place with actual chairs and no bouquet tossing, he joked. He picked a quiet bistro near Lincoln Park, and when I walked in, he stood up with that same slightly crooked smile from table 11. Dinner was easy, effortless. We didn't rush. We didn't perform. We just were. At one point, while I was telling a story about a wedding that almost caught fire from a rogue sparkler exit, he leaned in and said, "You light up when you talk about your work, it's rare." I blinked. Compliments usually made me squirm, but this one? It felt like he saw me. Really saw me. After dessert, creme brulee we shared, he walked me to my car. The air was crisp, the streetlights soft. I turned to thank him, and he hesitated. "Can I kiss you?" he asked. No one had asked me that in years. Just the asking made me say yes. And when he kissed me, it wasn't dramatic or dizzying. It was warm. Certain, like a door quietly clicking open. Over the next few weeks, we settled into something that felt like ours. We went on walks, cooked badly together, stayed up late on video calls when work pulled us apart. He'd send me songs with lyrics that felt like little secrets. I'd text him photos of funny signage or sunsets that reminded me of his quiet smile. But it wasn't perfect. Not quite. One night, a month in, we were curled up on my couch, half watching a movie when my phone buzzed. A message from my ex. Just a casual, "Hey, how have you been?" The kind of message that digs its claws in, no matter how much therapy you've done. I must have gone quiet. Ryan noticed. "Everything okay?" I nodded, lied. "Yeah, just spam." But the shift was there. I went to bed restless that night. Not because I missed my ex, I didn't tea, but because I realized how afraid I was. Afraid that this thing with Ryan was too good, too easy, that maybe it wasn't built to last. The next morning I opened up, told him the truth, about the message, about my fear of being disappointed again, about how I sometimes sabotage things before they can hurt me. He listened. Didn't interrupt. And then he said, "Claire, I'm not here to replace a ghost. I'm here if you want something real. If you don't, I'll understand. But if you do, I'm not going anywhere," I cried. Not because I was sad, but because for the first time in a long time, I believed someone. And from that day on, something settled. Something grew. Falling in love in your 30s isn't like the movies. There's no montage of carefree dates or flawless Sunday mornings. It's two people with full pasts and messy insecurities, trying to figure out if their puzzle pieces still fit into something new. Ryan and I had chemistry, yes, but what surprised me was the calm. The quiet joy. The absence of game playing. He didn't try to impress me. He just showed up. And in a world where people ghost each other over emoji choices, that meant everything. 2 months in, we took a weekend trip to Michigan. Nothing fancy, just a lakeside cabin, some board games, and way too many snacks. One night, wrapped in a blanket on the porch, he looked out at the dark water and said, "Do you ever think about what your life might look like if you hadn't gone to that wedding?" I smiled. Every day, we sat in silence for a moment. Then he added, "I think about it too, and honestly, it kind of terrifies me." That weekend felt like a test of comfort, of compatibility, of realness. And we passed. But then, as life loves to do, the calm was interrupted. 3 months in, Ryan got a job offer in Seattle. A dream position. More money, more creative freedom, everything he'd been working toward. When he told me, I hugged him hard. Sighed I was proud. Meant it. Then I cried in the shower for 20 minutes. We had the talk, the one that starts with, "What do we do?" and ends with, "I don't want to lose this. Come with me," he said. My heart stuttered. Not because I didn't want to, but because I was scared. I had my business, my clients, my best friend who lived 4 blocks away, my coffee shop that knew my order without asking. And deep down, a voice whispered, "What if this doesn't last?" I told him I needed time. The next few weeks were hard. Not dramatic or full of fights, just hard. like walking through fog, trying not to trip. We kept seeing each other, talking, laughing, but there was a clock ticking in the background. Then one evening we were back at Cafe Miro, the same one where we first really talked. We sat in our usual corner, sharing a slice of cake, when Ryan reached across the table and held my hand. "I don't want to pressure you," he said. "But whatever decision you make, I want it to be for you. Not for me, because I'll love you either way." And in that moment, everything cleared. Because love, real love, doesn't threaten, it invites. That night, I opened my laptop and started looking at apartments in Seattle. Moving to Seattle wasn't just a romantic leap, it was a full-life renovation. I kept my business remote, subleased my apartment, packed my life into 10 labeled boxes, and said goodbye to everything comfortable. My best friend cried. My mom tried to hide her nerves. And I oscillated between euphoric and terrified every hour. Ryan flew back to help me settle in. He met me at the airport with my favorite coffee and a sign that read, "Welcome to the next chapter." The apartment was small, sunlit, and smelled like fresh paint and possibility. We spent the first night eating takeout on the floor, drinking wine from mugs, and laughing until our stomachs hurt. It didn't feel like starting over. It felt like starting real. But life, as always, kept throwing curveballs. I struggled with loneliness. Seattle rain was romantic for about a week. After that, it was just wet. I missed my routines, my people, the comfort of knowing a city like the back of my hand. Ryan was supportive, but he was also adjusting to a demanding new job. Some days we barely saw each other. One night I broke down. "I love you," I said, "but I'm scared I'm disappearing here." He didn't try to fix it. He didn't say you'll be fine. He just held me forehead to forehead and said, "Then let's find ways to make you visible again." And he did. He found a local wedding planner and introduced me. He helped me organize a small workshop at a community center. He printed flyers. He showed up. And slowly, Seattle started to feel like home. The turning point came at another wedding. A client of mine, my first real job in the new city. Ryan was my plus one. As the reception kicked off, we were seated at a table near the dance floor. I glanced at our name cards, smiled, and turned to him. "Look," I said. "We've come a long way from table 11. He grinned. "We've come exactly where we were supposed to." Later that night, under twinkle lights and the soft hum of a jazz cover band, he pulled me close. "I was going to wait," he whispered, "but this moment feels right." And then, from his pocket, a tiny velvet box. "I don't care if this is tune or if we re-not perfect. I just know. I want to keep finding seats next to you. At every table life throws our way." Tears welled up. I didn't even look at the ring. I just nodded, laughed, and said yes, yes to every table. We didn't rush the wedding. We didn't need to. A year later in the spring, we returned to Chicago, not just to visit, but to celebrate. Not in a cathedral or ballroom, but in the backyard of my childhood home. String lights, mismatched chairs, peonies and mason jars, our people, our story, our way. Jill was my maid of honor, of course. She opened her speech with, "I take partial credit for this. I dragged her to the dance floor and kept her there long enough for fate to work." Everyone laughed. Even Ryan. At the reception, our table didn't have a number. Just a small sign that said, "Home." Ryan and I danced barefoot on the grass, tripping on roots and laughing through it all. When the slow song played, he whispered, "Still the best seat I've ever had." We moved back to Seattle afterward, this time together, this time with no doubts. I launched my design studio from a little shared office near Pike Place. Ryan started teaching part-time and composing on weekends. Life wasn't perfect, but it was deeply ours. Years later, we'd still go to weddings. And every time we saw the singles table tucked away near the dessert bar, we'd smile. We knew. We remembered. Sometimes I think back to that night. The shimmer of a too-perfect reception, the awkward shuffle to my chair, the moment our eyes met over Jill's wine glass. It felt small at the time. An accident. A seat filler. But really, it was the beginning. Because sometimes, love doesn't arrive with fireworks or a sweeping overture. Sometimes, it's a quiet invitation to sit down, to share a table, to stay a while. And when it's real, truly real, it doesn't matter where you start. Just that you said yes to the seat.
The end.